My whole life, I was an extrovert. I love being the center of attention. I love being with people. I love making people laugh. I was energized by big crowds until I was in college. And I completely reinvented myself. I went 180 and became an introvert. I read this quote. It said, "Tranquility is the new luxury." And I realized that if I really truly wanted to be successful in life, I had to be alone. Being alone is the best thing that you can cultivate and practice to achieve success. You become successful if you can solve money problems, when you can solve relationship problems, when you can solve mental problems. That to me is having a successful life. The reason why most of us aren't successful is because we're all addicts. I realized that when I was an extrovert, I would always rely on others for my self-worth. I love the validation that they would give me from laughing at my jokes, or the praise I would get from doing well in a sport, or the validations I would get from my peers or teachers from doing well in school. That was my addiction. Other people, external validation. Because deep down within me, I was extremely insecure. Externally, I looked confident because things on paper looked really well. I was doing very well. But inside of me, I knew that I felt like I was never enough. I knew that I felt disappointed in who I was. There was something mingling inside of me that I wasn't facing. But instead of working through it, I would just distract myself with other people. Most people are addicted to distractions. You are probably addicted to distractions. Any free time you have, I guarantee that you're checking your phone, you're checking your notifications, your social media, you're texting, you're looking at your emails, you're even looking at the weather app just for fun. Because you cannot stand being alone. I know, because I'm human too, and I did the same thing. But if you have any ounce interest or desire to be ambitious and live a legendary life, you have to learn to be comfortable with yourself. Only when you're alone can you cultivate the highest version of yourself. No one has become the highest version of themselves surrounded by a crowd or with other people. No one has become the highest version of yourself by watching TV, by partying, by drinking and self-medicating, by being on their phone, by playing video games. No one has become the highest version of themselves by doing anything that would distract them. You're here telling me that you want success and you have ambitions and you have dreams, yet you cannot stand being alone? That's a problem. I guess the question you have to ask right now is, why do you hate being alone? Why is it so uncomfortable? That's because you're probably scared of yourself. You don't even know who you are. That's why you always feel the need to be distracted, because when you're alone with yourself, it's like you're with a stranger. You're like, who is this person? I don't want to feel that. I don't want to know what are these thoughts coming in? You probably have so much pain and so much self-hatred and you've never processed it. So when you're alone, all those feelings start coming up. They come to the surface. And you're scared. You're like, what is this? And maybe in your defense, you're like, well, I've had a pretty good childhood. I have nothing traumatic happen to me. I had good parents. I don't feel like there's anything to be suffering for. Well, I hate to break it up to you, but you're lying to yourself. You're 100% suffering. Unless you're a monk and you've dealt with the sufferings of life and you're enlightened. But are you a monk? Come on. You are probably suffering. You have to face that. And my guess is that your pain that you're feeling right now is driven by shame or guilt from failures of your past or from flaws that you have. Because the solution of what you need to do to be successful and to be comfortable with yourself is to fall in love with yourself. It's to love yourself. If you actually just loved yourself and were in awe with who you are, when you'd be by yourself, you'd be like, fuck yeah, I love myself. I love how I am right now. I'm proud of myself. It's amazing to be by yourself. You don't need distraction because you're so content with who you are. You're with someone you love. So if you want to know what your pain is, you have to ask yourself, why don't you love yourself? What it is about yourself that you don't like? What it is something about yourself that you hate? You're asking yourself deep questions here. For me, I hated that I felt like I was never good enough. Where is that coming from? Perfectionism? High standards? Why do I even have those standards? And then you start asking deeper and deeper questions and why? And eventually you'll get at the root cause of why you're feeling a certain way. And then you can finally move on and start healing. Because to heal a wound, you have to feel a wound. That's the only way. You have to embrace those feelings that come to you. You cannot start distracting yourself or comforting yourself with other things to hide how you feel or to cover how you feel. You have to actually let those emotions arise and navigate yourself through it. By sitting quietly with yourself, you can cultivate wisdom. It's all within you. Honestly, everything that you need to know is really in your heart. You just have to peel back layers and layers and dissolve your ego and realize that all those insecurities and fear are driven by something that is not you. It's just your ego that's trying to make you feel like a victim or trying to make you feel comfortable. But you're never gonna achieve the truest version of yourself and your highest potential if you cannot even be yourself. You cannot be ruled by your ego. Yes, you can read, you can meditate, you can think and grow when you're on your own, and that's good. But just sitting with yourself and looking at your heart. I don't disregard this. I don't think this is super cliche, but I promise you, you need to go through this. You need to look into your heart and process through these emotions. What makes you feel inadequate? What makes you feel insecure? What makes you feel like you're being held back? If you want to achieve success, you have to go through this. If you want to live your truest potential, if you want to self-improve, you have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to ask questions, why don't you? And you have to feel empowered that you can change. If you want to amplify your productivity, your prosperity, your creativity, you have to manually make time for you to be alone and to focus on loving yourself. So whatever you don't love about yourself, that should be your starting point to healing, because that's a pain that you have. And it's so important to love yourself because you are the only person that's going to live with yourself for the rest of your life. No one can know you better than you can. So to sit quietly with yourself is an opportunity for you to be comfortable with who you are and also knowing who you are. And if you want to know what endeavor you want to pursue or ambitions you want to take on, you can only know that by knowing yourself, knowing your strength, knowing your gifts and talents, and also knowing your weaknesses. You can only achieve greatness if you know who you are. And then the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for all the other relationships you will have in your life. Relationships with people, your partner, your family, money, networking, your relationship with your job, your relationship with friends. Literally, the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone, the relationship you have with the world. So if you want to have more happiness, more joy, more peace in your life, you have to feel that within yourself, and then it will reflect outwards. You won't have to rely on anyone or anything to feel good about yourself because you chose to love yourself first. You don't need any validation from anything. You don't need validation from the internet or your friends or partying or anything like that, because you got yourself and you respect yourself and you love yourself. So make sure when you look back into the emotions that you're feeling, and maybe things will come up to the surface, things you're not proud of, things that you regret, things that you're ashamed of. This is in the past. Be compassionate towards yourself. Focus on the now. Realize that your past self didn't know any better. Be compassionate towards that person. You need to talk to yourself like you were a kid again. How compassionate would you be for the version of yourself that's a little kid? That makes me sad to just even think about that. To being harsh on my little me. And then what's amazing is that the future hasn't even come yet. So right now you can build yourself and move on and heal and look forward to who you can be in the future. So the best time to be quiet is you can do it in the morning before everybody's awake. Or you could do it at night while everybody's on their phone. You'll have your quiet time. You can also pull out a journal and journal about the person you've always wanted to be, because you can still be that person. You can also pray or say affirmations about the type of person you wish to be and how you would like to interact with people and how you would like to feel when you're by yourself. Visualize that version of yourself that is comfortable being by themselves. Initially, I would forcefully make me sit and stare at a wall. I would plan out my day and I would put a period of 30 minutes. I would sit down and just stare at a wall. Just slow down. Embrace the introversion aspect of you. The reason why I'm now so driven, inspired, hopeful, and ambitious is because I've mastered being alone. Not master, like I'm not a fucking master, but I'm comfortable with myself and I love myself. I love who I'm becoming. How proud would you be if you come home and you just sit down and just sit and look and not have all your mind trying to think about different things or convince you to be busy just to be busy. So I would say that today I am not an extrovert, but I'm not an introvert. I'm just both. I am who I am. I will be who I need to be in any moment. But I was only able to understand and get to this point by being comfortable by myself, by shifting and exploring being more introverted. And now I feel like a more complete person. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, tranquility is the new luxury. I hope you resonate with my content today. And I will see you tomorrow in a new video. Oh my God, I stuttered so much. I will see you tomorrow. Mwah. I love you.